you Gen Z, Blair?
Whatever comes after millennial, I miss it by a year. Yeah,
All
I'm
right,
X. So
let's talk about hamburgers. Ham. So I'm going to show you how we would approach doing a responsive, like changing a traditional navigation into a hamburger menu. It can't actually function as a hamburger menu without JavaScript, but we can get a lot of the way there with just HTML and CSS. So the idea is that if this is the page, we've got some kind of nav bar there. Maybe it's a logo and some links on desktop. And then on a smaller viewport, we want it to be the logo and a hamburger. So like when you're doing this kind of thing where you're changing the content as you respond to the viewport size, you figure out like which parts are changing, and the simplest way to do this is just toggle between them. So we can isolate that part, and then use display none to hide something or block to show something to switch between them. So let's see in action. All right, I'm going to make a new folder. Nothing up this sleeve. Nothing up this sleeve. I'm going to make an index.html and an index.css. I'm going to serve it up. Man, that npx is going to take me a while to get used to. The way you did global installs on npm worked very differently like 2 years ago. And they added this npx thing that is so much better. It's like taking an entire category of troubleshooting problems with students just off the table. But muscle memory dies hard. Okay, so I'm going to throw this over to the right side of the screen. Look at that. You know how that works now. And throw this over to the left side of the screen. Open up my editor. Put all of our required HTML elements in here. And head needs a title. Head needs a character set. Can't wait to tell you how char sets work one of these days. Kind of interesting.
So, do you have to type all this out every time, Kyle, or are you just choosing to? Because VS Code, what we use, will auto do it.
Yep.
Does it not offer it for you here, or do you just like to?
I do it when I'm demoing something for students because since VS Code does it automatically, all of you stop reading. So the required elements for a head are title and meta char set. You have to have a doc type. You have to have all of these things. And these are things that you have to know. People will ask you this. It's important. That's why I type it out every time, because it gives me a chance to slow down and make you watch these things slower than VS Code does it for you.
Making one for a team then. I like it.
Yeah. All right, so we've got that and that, and I need to put the style sheet in here too. Another thing to call out here, href, right? Just like the anchor tags, when we start doing JavaScript, that's source, SRC. You're going to mix those up a lot. So href for links. All right. So we've got a header, and we've got, let's see, we'll do, oh, actually, let's just get something in there. All right, cool. We're in business. So, since I have two things that I want to push out to the sides, I get a volunteer to tell me how I do that.
With flex and then space between.
In the space between. All right, so one of those is like a logo. Yeah, I'll just use the H1 for now. And then I need, this is going to be navigation. So I will treat it as such. Navigation is a list of links. Oh, God, I really don't like that. So this will be like link 1, link 2, link 3. Oops. All right, cool. We're in business. And then this will also have a main. All right, so there's our cool semantic markup. Now, time to make it look like the thing. So the first thing I'm going to do, because a couple of you struggled with this morning, is I'm going to throw a Google font on it. So I'll go over to Google Fonts. And no one ever got fired for picking Roboto. Roboto is the default font on Android. I'm going to go with a slightly lighter one though. And I will head over to the style sheet. I will grab the import from this. Most people did something like in this vein just fine. Struggled with the second step, which is you have to throw the rule in too before it applies. Otherwise, you installed it. You didn't necessarily use it. Hey, there we go. Also, these double quotes drive me crazy, so we're going to switch those over to double quotes. All right. Now, for the header, I need to flex it, space between. All right. That header UL should probably also be flexed. And should be list. Oh, sorry, that's in a nav. That's right. And should be list style none. There we go. And then another one I'm seeing people forget. We can use that adjacent sibling selector to kind of push those apart. We'll do margin left. All right, sick. And then throughout the header, let's put a little bit of padding on this too. So maybe 12 pixels on top, 24 pixels on the sides. And then we'll do the same thing for main. So we'll say like header and main. Both. Do that. All right, cool. Now it sort of kind of looks like a site. Oop, one more. the baseline for these links isn't the same as the logo. If I zoom in really far, you can kind of see it. How those are above. I don't want that. So a couple solutions to it, but do line item center. Center it all. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'll take it. Now what we want, our desired behavior, is that when I turn on the mobile emulator, and take a look at an iPhone 11, I want it to go to a hamburger menu. First thing I'm going to do is do my meta tag for the viewport. Meta viewport tag. Like I told you, I look it up every time. Never remember it. There we go. Put it next to the other meta tag. Hey, all right, now we're in business. That nav bar looks like crap on mobile, though. What I want it to look like is a hamburger. So I need a couple things. First, I need to be able to get that hamburger icon. So I need to get icon fonts. So there's a bunch of these. This is the most popular one, which also makes it kind of look the most basic because you see it everywhere. But Font Awesome is a collection of icons. So if I want something like hamburger, there we go. Gives me a couple options. Bars is what I'm looking for.
Should do the actual hamburger.
So I can throw this where the nav is. Oops. I can throw that where the nav is right now. But I need to install it also. So I'm going to look up a Font Awesome CDN. It stands for Content Delivery Network. The same way we do CSS resets. It's just a style sheet, but somebody else is already hosting it. And side benefit, if you use like a really popular CDN, then somebody else probably went to a site that was maybe using that same one and already have it cached in their browser. So it speeds up your site too. Oh, I don't, come on. Give me the real CDN. Sure, why not? Copy the URL. Oh, you know what? I will take the link. So I'm going to throw that up there. Install the link, and then...
Can you put that in the chat, please?
Sure. Where'd the Zoom chat go? There we go. All right, so go back over here. Hey, I got a hamburger icon now. But the trick is I want it to show the big nav sometimes, and I want it to show the hamburger nav some other times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this in a div. Give it a class of, I'm going to say menu. In fact, you know what? There's a menu HTML item. I'll just use that. Cool. So I've got that. And what I want it to, oops, close it correctly. Did I close it correctly? All right, back in flavor country. So I want to show the hamburger sometimes. I want to show the nav some other times. So I could do something like, if I say nav display none. Hey, that's kind of what we're looking for. And if I do menu display none. Hey, cool. So I really just need that toggle to work. So whichever one is the default that I'm going to like base my query on, that one's going to be block. And then I need a this one to be the opposite. And then we need a media query that's like at media, and we'll say if it maxes out at 400, so like max width 400 pixels, then I need to say what I want these to be instead. So that means it's going to be under 400 pixels, which means that this one is display block and this one is display none. All right, so I've got that showing up with the mobile emulator on, and if I turn it off, it's that. Boom! One other thing that is CSS-y about this that's really easy to miss is, you notice how like when my cursor hovers over this, it's still the black pointer thing? Probably want it to be the hand. That's what would, that's called affordance. It's what indicates to somebody that you can take an action on that. The CSS for that is cursor. And then there's all kinds of different options for this. Pointer is that one. So now when I hover over it, it turns into that one. To make it actually do anything when I click on it, we need JavaScript. But yeah, that's the idea. Questions?
What kind of JavaScript?
So it would look something like this. Let's say I have so in that menu, maybe I have an li, or sorry, that same list. So if I turn on the mobile emulator, womp womp, that's not what we want. So the general trick for this is that we need to hide, actually I'm gonna, that's fine, is that we need those to be off canvas, and then we need to fly them in when a class changes. So we might do something like class hidden, and then we want to toggle that with one that's like showing or something like that, or active. So maybe I could say like inactive. And if it's inactive, it needs to be off canvas. And then whenever that class changes with JavaScript, we want to do something with it. So that might look something like this. If I make another JavaScript file for this, import it in, tell it to wait for the page to finish loading, and that hamburger, I'm going to give it another class, toggle menu. So then over in the JavaScript, I want to grab that menu button, and I'll say, give me the button with a toggle menu class. It uses the same thing as CSS selectors. Yeah, toggle menu. And then whenever menu button is clicked, then I want to grab this this UL inside of the menu. So I could say something like menu items, which is inside of menu. What is it? Menu items. How about I just grab that directly? Menu items. I want to take something that's like menu items dot class list dot toggle. I'm gonna go with is active. Yeah, that feels good. So instead of that, I'm just gonna leave it off, and then do something like menu items. We could do something like not. Oh, actually, I'm going to absolutely position these links and then throw them way off the screen. So I'm going to set the menu as a relative container. I'm going to set the menu items as absolutely positioned. And then I'm going to use a negative positioning to just throw them way off the page. Like that. Why on earth would you do such a weird, hacky thing? Here's how it works. This is where you start getting creative with CSS. This is a hack, but totally works. It's how basically everybody does hamburger menus. So your viewport is here. And generally speaking, our document takes up the whole viewport. But what if the document was actually substantially bigger than the viewport? Then we could have things that are off viewport, like over here. So we don't see the blue box normally, but we can animate absolute positioning. So we could do something like whenever that class changes, fly it in from outside so that it shows up. So that might look something like this. The menu items are also active, then it's right, I don't know, 200. So let's see what that does.
If you have to do overflow hidden just to keep people from scrolling over.
No, because check it out. It doesn't scroll.
Because
it's absolutely positioned. The document, it's not part of the document flow anymore, so it can't do things like create scroll bars.
Okay.
There we go. So that flowed over too much. Let's see. And then I could even animate that. So it's something like set a transition on right that's 1 second. And now it'll fly in like that. Now you can kind of see how it makes those scroll bars as it's like getting rid of it. Maybe better do this from the bottom. Bottom. Oh, no. Let's do top. And let's speed this up. Oh, it still needs to, it also needs to be over a little bit. Didn't animate it though. Ah, because I changed that to There you go. And then you could put those behind a scrim or something like that, like background color, something, some kind of gray. And give a little bit of padding. And oop, where'd it go? Don't like something I did. There we go. Anchors, color, inherit. There we go. Something kind of like that. That's how hamburger menus work.
When you showed us all of that space surrounding the document, it felt like a magician was letting me look inside of his hat. Again,
Right?
like this is how it's done.
Yeah, man. So yeah, if we element inspect this, where is it? There we go. So yeah, you can actually, if I get it closer, like, here's another cool thing you can do with DevTools. You just use arrow keys. Really good for like tuning how something's positioned. So if I start reducing that, pixels. So at 0, it's like at exactly where the container starts. So see how like the top of that is aligned with the top of that? That's the positioning context, so that makes sense. And then if I keep going up from there, I can push it right off the screen. Doesn't add scroll bars or anything because it's absolutely positioned. If I wanted to like really nestle that up right next to like under the menu, so maybe I do something like this to figure out about where that should go. Okay, so if I do right 0, top 30, something like that. Ask me some questions.
I must have done it some extreme jank way because I had that on my website for the pre-work, but I didn't use JavaScript. I did exactly what you're doing. I did something where like I made the hamburger menu a button, and when you click the button,
I did like an on-click kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how I did it. So click it moves it into the frame. When you click it again, it pushes it back out.
Yep.
But seeing it done with JavaScript is obviously way better and cooler.
So you were doing it with JavaScript. On-click is just a way to inline JavaScript in HTML.
Okay, gotcha.
Can you save this recording to the Sika site?
You got it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Go once, go twice. All right, cool. Go learn something.
Thank you.
You're welcome.